Sasha sits inside the tent with her climbing partner, Tommy, carefully wrapping her damaged fingers after days of non-stop climbing. High up in the freezing mountains, the sun finally comes out, and she tells Tommy it's time to keep moving. The two begin climbing again, joking around and enjoying the thrill as they make their way across the snowy cliffs. But the fun quickly ends when Sasha suddenly slips and falls. Thankfully, she isn't badly hurt, but frustration takes over because she keeps getting stuck at the exact same spot every single time. Tommy calmly tells her to slow down and breathe, reminding her not to rush. Sasha tries again, and fails again. Tommy suggests they stop for the day and come back later, but she refuses to quit. As dark clouds begin rolling in, the weather turns dangerous. Realizing the storm is getting worse, Sasha finally agrees to head back for now. Later at camp, Tommy admits he's worried about how fearless Sasha has become. He tells her he doesn't think he has many climbing trips left in him. Sasha brushes it off, saying he always talks like this whenever things get difficult. But Tommy quietly warns her that luck doesn't last forever. According to his luck compass, theirs is starting to run out. Irritated by his negativity, Sasha angrily pushes the compass aside. The two eventually begin climbing back down the mountain while the storm grows stronger around them. Above them, powerful winds send rocks and debris crashing down the cliffs. To stay alive, they move closer to the mountain wall and keep their heads low. Tommy spots a safer ledge farther below and tells Sasha to climb down first. Sasha carefully lowers herself, but suddenly massive rocks begin falling from above. Before Tommy can react, one huge boulder slams directly into him. The impact sends him falling off the mountain. Sasha desperately grabs onto him, struggling to hold his weight as both of them start slipping. Panicking, she screams at Tommy to wake up because he's dragging them both down, but Tommy doesn't respond. Her hands slip, and Tommy falls straight into the darkness below. Helpless, Sasha watches the man she loves die right in front of her, unable to save him while desperately fighting to stay alive herself. 5 months later, Sasha travels alone to the canyons of Australia. Still carrying Tommy's old compass with her, she arrives at a ranger station before entering the wilderness. The ranger immediately notices she's by herself and strongly advises against going alone. He explains that many people who enter the jungle never come back out. Before leaving town, she stops at a small supermarket. A random guy casually says hello, and Sasha politely responds before trying to avoid him. But the guy and his friend continue following her around the store, eventually cornering her near the checkout counter. Luckily, another man working nearby notices what's happening. While joking about how poorly his beef jerky is selling, he tells the two guys that Sasha clearly already has everything she needs. The men finally back off and walk away. Afterward, the worker apologizes for their behavior before leaving. Feeling grateful, Sasha buys 1 pack of his beef jerky before heading out. Later, while sitting in her car confused by the map, Sasha notices the same guy nearby and asks for directions. Smiling, he asks if she wants the easy route or the hard one. Sasha simply tells him, just the best way. He points her toward the correct road and recommends starting near Blackstone Bay, mentioning there's a great camping area nearby that most people don't know about because it's usually empty. As the sun begins to set, Sasha arrives at a quiet lake and sets up camp alone. Staying cautious, she keeps a pepper spray close beside her. But her peaceful night quickly turns uncomfortable when the same men from the supermarket suddenly arrive nearby. They turn out to be a group of hunters who came to camp after spending the day hunting deer in the forest. They invite Sasha over, but she politely avoids them and quickly gets inside her car instead. Moments later, the same guy steps right in front of her window, flashing that unsettling smile. He tells her they're not trying to cause any trouble, just being friendly. After saying that, he calmly walks away. That night, Sasha stays alert inside her car, listening closely. Eventually, she hears the group packing up and leaving the campsite. Only then does she finally breathe a sigh of relief. The next morning, she prepares her raft and heads out onto the river. The current is strong, pulling her forward fast as she drifts deeper into the wilderness. At one point, she stops, climbs out, and even dives into the rushing water, trying to enjoy a brief moment of freedom despite everything. Eventually, she reaches the area near Blackstone Bay. But instead of peace, she notices abandoned gear scattered around, signs that previous campers may have gone missing. Still, she pushes forward and sets up her camp by the lake. She eats some of the beef jerky she bought earlier, then hangs her belongings high in a tree for safety before going to sleep. In the morning, she wakes up to something terrifying. Her bag is gone. Even worse, she finds a snake inside her tent, forcing her to panic and leave immediately. She grabs her raft and moves further down the river, trying to find a safer spot. Soon, she comes across a hidden shelter that looks like someone is currently living there. She finds the same polite guy from the market. The tension breaks for a moment as they both act surprised, but oddly glad, to see each other again. He introduces himself as Ben, and Sasha tells him her name as well. Ben casually asks if she's enjoying her trip. Sasha explains that things haven't gone smoothly. Her bag was stolen, and it had her phone and food inside. He mentions that he always carries more supplies than he needs and offers to share. Sasha thanks him, and Ben asks if she's hungry. He insists on cooking some fish for her despite her hesitation. As he prepares the meal, he grows curious and notices she tried his beef jerky earlier. He asks if she liked it, and Sasha questions the name Genos. Ben explains calmly that it's named after his mother. Ben casually shows Sasha how he collects fresh drinking water straight from the trees. He lets her try it, and she hesitantly drinks. Still curious, she asks where he's from. Ben replies that his mother brought him here when he was just a kid. Sasha guesses he must be from Britain, and Ben laughs before suddenly stabbing the fish he's preparing, admitting she's actually right. He then looks at Sasha and correctly assumes she's a mountain climber. Sasha quickly shuts it down, saying she's done with climbing for good. Ben guesses it might be because of a breakup, assuming she used to climb with a partner. But Sasha corrects him, saying that's not the reason at all. She just wants to escape all the noise of the world and be alone. As they talk, Sasha brings up the hunters from the supermarket who showed up at her campsite the night before. Ben calmly replies that most hunters aren't like that, and the good ones respect the wilderness and only take what they need. He says it's not about drinking and hanging out like a party. Sasha insists they weren't dangerous, just trying to intimidate her. Ben responds that he already knows, because he saw everything. He even watched how she handled them, and in his words, she did perfectly. That comment immediately makes Sasha uncomfortable. Ben then adds something even more disturbing. He says she never gave him a reason to hurt her. Confused, Sasha asks what he means. That's when Ben casually admits he was there. He says he thought she might need help, being a woman alone in the woods. Then he suddenly laughs and calls her special, just like his mother. Ben calmly walks back into his den and throws her bag outside like it means nothing. Moments later, he steps out holding a crossbow in one hand and a small speaker in the other. He turns the speaker on, and eerie music starts playing, filling the silence of the forest. Ben calmly tells Sasha that he's already restocked all her essentials. Looking at her shoes, he adds that she should be fine for now. Then he gives her a chilling rule: she has exactly until the song ends to run as far away from him as she can. Right after saying that, he starts dancing. Without wasting a second, Sasha grabs the bag and bolts out of there. She reaches her raft and pushes herself back into the river, paddling hard against the current. The chase escalates fast. Sasha loses control near a waterfall and crashes down, hitting her head underwater. Her raft is gone. Barely recovering, she swims to the shore and forces herself to keep running through the dense jungle. She climbs over rocks, gasping for breath, when she suddenly hears voices ahead, people talking. Desperate for help, she calls out as she climbs higher, only to realize it's just a video playing on a phone. It shows the missing family, calmly saying hi to Ben. Before she can process it, an arrow suddenly lands right beside her. She freezes. Ben appears above the cliff, watching her. The moment she sees him, Sasha turns and sprints again. The jungle becomes a nightmare as she runs full speed, while Ben continues firing arrows from different angles, closing in on her. Another arrow finally hits her bag, knocking her off balance. She tumbles off the cliff and crashes down into the river below, rolling violently through rocks and water until she's carried downstream. Eventually, she drags herself out at a calmer stretch of water, barely alive. Shaking, she checks her bag and quickly puts on her shirt. She scavenges for anything useful, food, water, anything to survive. Then she grabs her pepper spray tightly, keeping it within reach, knowing the hunt isn't over yet. Sasha forces herself to run again, only to end up back in the dark, narrow gorges. With no gear and barely any strength left, she decides to rely on pure instinct and start climbing. Her hands slip, her body shakes from exhaustion, and every movement feels unstable, but somehow, she pushes through and manages to pull herself upward. When she finally reaches open daylight, she pauses. From above, she can see the vast terrain stretched out beneath her. For a brief moment, it feels like she has a chance. She moves carefully across the ridge until she reaches a tree and pulls out her binoculars. She scans the area and spots her abandoned raft in the distance. But before she can focus, a terrifying hunting scream echoes through the valley, scattering birds into the sky. Ben is coming for her. Then suddenly, he stops. Through the binoculars, Sasha sees him standing completely still, staring directly at her from far away, smiling. She climbs down from the ridge and tries to hide between the rocks, staying as still as possible. Ben arrives shortly after and looks around carefully, but he doesn't see her. After a tense moment, he finally walks away. Sasha quietly slips out of her hiding spot and runs again through the jungle, pushing herself beyond exhaustion. Eventually, she hears music playing in the distance. Using her binoculars again, she spots her raft near the water. To her shock, she also sees Ben nearby, diving into the river, completely naked, acting completely unbothered by the chaos. Seeing her only chance, Sasha decides to go for it. She silently enters the water and swims toward the raft. When she reaches it, she struggles to untie the knot, but it won't loosen. Out of desperation, she tries to pull the entire anchor loose instead. Just as she prepares to climb back up, she suddenly feels something clamp around her leg underwater, a hidden trap. She screams in pain, and the sound immediately gives her away. Ben hears it. He quickly puts on his trousers and starts running toward her location. Panicked, Sasha manages to pull herself onto the shore and tries again to free herself. But the moment she sees Ben rushing toward her, she has no choice but to dive back into the water, trapped and cornered once again. Ben manages to pull Sasha in using the chain, but she quickly uses her pepper spray directly in his face. He recoils in pain, letting go for a moment as Sasha desperately tries to break free from the trap still locked around her leg and the rock beneath her. Ben stumbles back toward the river, washing his burning eyes in the water. Sasha spots the crossbow lying over a nearby rock and reaches for it, but before she can grab it, Ben recovers and yanks her back again with the chain. The chance disappears instantly. Later, Sasha finds herself tied up in Ben's hidden den, her hands and legs secured. Ben disappears into the jungle and returns later with food, casually feeding her fruit. He asks if she doesn't like being tied up. Sasha, angry and disturbed, tells him there is something seriously wrong with him. Ben simply reminds her that he gave her a choice earlier, the easy way or the hard way. That night, as rain falls heavily, Sasha remains tied up while Ben watches her from a distance. He talks about rituals, saying they are important because they remind people of who they truly are. He even brings up ancient tribes who filed their teeth into sharp points, as if it explains his mindset. Ben calmly tells Sasha that he found her name in a ranger's register and looked deeper into her background. He says he knows about her partner's death in the mountains. Sasha insists it was just a tragic accident, but Ben pushes back, saying her partner was experienced and that the situation doesn't add up the way people claim it does. Sasha tries to stay composed and says that accidents can still happen in the mountains, even to skilled climbers. While she speaks, she notices an iron bar near her feet and subtly tries to reach for it. But before she can act, Ben suddenly throws her off the boat, cutting off any chance of escape. He then ties her chain to the boat and forces her to move with the current, dragging her helplessly down the river as she struggles against the water. Eventually, they arrive at a quiet, isolated area where Ben pulls her out and leads her toward a narrow gorge. He gives her gear and tells her they are going to climb down together. With no real choice, Sasha complies while still restrained, and the two descend into a dark cave. Inside, they enter the water and Ben drags her further into a hidden section. When they finally reach land, Sasha is frozen in shock as she sees multiple bodies hanging in the area, the scene completely horrifying her. Ben continues dragging her forward and calmly explains that some tribes believe that in order to capture the spirit of their prey, the hunter must consume the liver. She tries to escape immediately, but Ben pulls her back into a corner. In a quiet, controlled tone, he asks if she really thinks he is the one with the problem. Terrified, Sasha carefully responds that she believes something very bad happened to him in the past, and she softly apologizes for everything he has gone through, trying to calm him down and survive the moment. Ben suddenly reaches into his mouth and pulls out what looked like fake teeth, revealing sharp, pointed real teeth underneath. He moves closer in a disturbing way, even placing her hand near his mouth before letting it go, as if testing her fear. Without warning, he suddenly runs off into the cave. Confused and shaken, Sasha takes the moment to look around the area. That's when she notices a photo, clearly of a woman who looks like Ben's mother. Before she can process it, Ben returns and violently drags her away, hanging her up by her hands. Her feet barely touch the ground as she struggles to balance and breathe. Ben begins mixing a strange liquid, saying it is part of the ritual. Trying to distract him, Sasha brings up the photograph and asks if it was his mother. She even says the woman looks just like him. Ben reacts with a strange smile and moves closer, talking softly about all the sweet things his mother used to say to him. Sasha forces a nervous smile, trying to stay calm as he gets closer. Ben says she was special, just like his mother, and that she was the first one he ever did it to. Then he suddenly hugs her, pulling her in close. In that split second, Sasha reacts. She grabs him with her legs and bites his ear hard, drawing blood. Ben jerks back in pain, forcing himself away as the rope starts to give. Sasha tears free from part of her restraint, and chaos breaks out. In the river, Ben manages to grab the end of her chain and fastens it around her waist. The current drags both of them violently downstream as they crash through the water together. Ben hits his head underwater and goes briefly unconscious, while the rope gets tangled around a fallen tree log, trapping Sasha as well. Out of breath, she struggles desperately to free herself but can't. She manages to loosen the knot from the log, and both of them rise back toward the surface, Ben still unconscious in the water. Sasha grabs a nearby rock and tries to smash the chain, but it refuses to break. Meanwhile, Ben suddenly regains consciousness. Sasha immediately returns to him and forces his face underwater, trying to drown him. But Ben fights back, pushing himself up from the river and breaking free. She quickly switches and tries to choke him instead, but he overpowers her and throws her off. Sasha reaches for a rock nearby, but Ben still has hold of the rope and crawls toward her, slowly gaining control again. In seconds, he pins her down and begins strangling her. Sasha struggles helplessly as her strength starts to fade, barely holding on. At the very last moment, Ben suddenly freezes. For a brief second, he seems to see his mother in Sasha, and he stops attacking. Sasha breaks the silence with dark sarcasm, asking if he had some kind of special dentist, or if he ate him too. She then taunts him further, asking if he gets scared or depressed in the dark. She brings up Tommy, saying that when he fell, He was dragging both of them down and she had no choice but to let go. She admits she has no idea if he's still alive, but she couldn't save him. The next morning, Sasha wakes up and studies the terrain ahead. She notices Ben's injury is getting worse, clearly infected and rotting. She asks about the path behind them, and Ben says it's about 12 days of walking back to the roads. Sasha then looks toward the massive height ahead and makes a decision. She tells him she needs to get to the top. Either they climb that day, or she waits and lets him die from the infection, since he likely won't survive much longer anyway. Sasha approaches Ben while he still grips the knife, speaking calmly and telling him she can help stabilize his leg. She suggests making a proper harness so he can move without putting pressure on the injury, and convinces him that they both need to climb out of the gorge. She asks him to remove her cuffs so she can work properly. Ben agrees, but warns her coldly that he will undo them near the wall, and that if she tries anything, he will pull her down with him. Even after releasing her wrists, he keeps a rope connecting them so he can control her movements. With no other choice, they start climbing together. As they gain height, Sasha waits for a moment when she's out of his direct sight. Quietly, she tries to loosen the rope binding them, but Ben notices immediately and yanks her down, forcing her to stop. She continues climbing again, slower this time, as tension builds between them. While they climb, Ben suddenly brings up Tommy, asking if, when he fell, it looked like he was flying. Sasha doesn't respond, focusing only on getting higher and staying alive. Step by step, she manages to reach a ledge and pull herself over it. The moment she is out of Ben's direct view, Sasha acts fast. She secures the rope from her harness to a tree log, anchoring herself firmly, and carefully loosens the line that connects her to him. Ben quickly realizes something is wrong and starts pulling the rope violently, shouting threats as he tries to regain control. But Sasha holds tight to the log, and the more he pulls, the more the tension shifts against him until the connection finally gives way. Sasha climbs up safely onto solid ground, while Ben is left below, trapped and unable to reach her. Sasha finally unties the knot on the log, and Ben loses his grip, falling away into the depths below. With no ropes left and her body already battered, she is forced to climb the rest of the rock face completely on her own. Her wounded feet struggle against every hold, and at one point she slips and hangs from the edge, barely keeping herself from falling. With sheer determination, she pulls herself back up and continues inch by inch until she finally reaches solid ground. Exhausted, she takes a long breath of relief as she realizes she has survived. Later that evening, while walking through the wilderness, she is spotted by a passing car. The people inside stop and take her to a forest ranger, where she reports everything she knows about the missing individuals and the hidden locations deep in the forest. A full rescue operation is launched, and news quickly spreads. It is revealed that the people believed to be lost in the wilderness were actually victims of a serial killer operating deep in the wild. Sasha quietly turns off the news, no longer wanting to hear more. She makes her way to the beach with Tommy's compass still in her hands. For a moment, she holds it close, kisses it gently, and then throws it into the sea. Finally, she sits alone on the shore, surrounded by silence, finding peace at last after everything she endured. In the end, Sasha survives not just physically but mentally. After exposing the truth and helping stop the killings, she finally lets go of Tommy's compass, symbolizing her acceptance of loss and the end of her trauma cycle. The final scene on the beach represents peace after extreme chaos, showing that survival is not just about escaping danger, but also healing from it.